Hello, everyone, and welcome again to an episode of Cinema Rogues. I'm your host, Andrew, and with me, as always, is my co-host and most of the time other host, regular style, Guy.
Hello. What an intro.
I don't know why we can't have non-awkward intros ever.
It's a Retro Warriors special.
It's a staple.
It's
a staple of the show.
Right. We're 13 episodes in. That's what, almost half a year? Or about half a year at this point?
Is it? Has it been? I don't know.
We do them every couple of weeks. So, yeah.
There was like a couple weeks where we're like slammed like 3 into a month.
That's true.
I think
I don't know.
We went real gung-ho. And now we've kind of like cooled down and have an actual kind of schedule, which is good.
A rhythm, you might say.
Keeps us regular because we know when it's going to happen. If you want to listen to more me, or you like me, or you just want to support me, or you just like board games, I have a show called Board Game Barbarians that you can listen to. It is also a podcast, and you can find it on iTunes, and now you can find it on Spotify as well. And
nice.
You can also find it on Podbean, the actual website, and a couple other podcast aggregators. If you like Guy, you can go check out Sidetail Studios on YouTube. He does, and Twitch. He does playthroughs, and I forgot the word for. I was like walk-alongs, and I'm like, that's not
walk-along.
That's not the correct word, Andrew.
My name's John Locke, and I want to go on a walkabout.
Let's go on a walkabout. Oh no!
Oh no!
The plane. All right. Yeah, you can watch Guide go on walkabouts on YouTube and Twitch, in video games. Not in real life.
Now I'm going to have to make a walkabout video somehow.
Now I'm trying to... I said I couldn't remember the word, and you just like stared at me like Justin does every time I forget a word when we're talking Wizards. And he's like, sound it out.
Let's play.
There we go. Let's play. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
And then if you somehow found this show without listening to Retro Warriors, go listen to Retro Warriors. Because they made this show possible for viewers like you.
Yeah, one of these years we'll get our own separate Cinema Rogues feed, and that'll be more apt.
Sounders like you? Maybe not sounders, that's bad. Listeners. Sounders like you.
We're the Seattle Sounders.
Is that an actual sports team?
Maybe. You know what? It might be their soccer team, actually.
Weird. All right. Well, Guy, how's your 2 weeks? Last 2 weeks been?
It's been good. Been watching a lot of playoff hockey. The Stars are in the playoffs, and they're into the second round. And since there's a game every other day, and it's a best-of-7 series, each round lasts around 2 weeks.
Oh. All right. Are most sports the best of 7?
Hockey is, and basketball is. Football playoffs are a single elimination.
What about baseball? Isn't that 7?
Best of 7. I think the wild card round, like the first round, is best of 3, and then everything after that is best of 7.
Most sports except for football.
Basically, yeah.
Great.
And then watching hockey, my kids have been into watching hockey with us. And so the family movie this week was The Mighty Ducks.
Nice. All 3 movies or just the first one?
Just the first one.
No D3?
No D3, not yet. We'll get there eventually, I'm sure.
No D3 where they're like, hi, we're still high school kids, but we're obviously in our 20s. Like,
nah, dude, D3 was in college.
No, they were in high school.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, they were like at a prestigious like high school, private school.
Are you sure? I thought they were in college.
You think that because they're in their 20s.
Oh no, is that real?
I think like a couple of them were still like 19. There were a couple like 20-year-olds. My wife and a friend of ours watched it like 6 or 7 months ago before all the COVID stuff happened. We had just had a day of watching all of the Mighty Ducks movies. So it was on HBO. And like the third movie wrapped around, like first movie, they're like real young kids. Second movie, like you can tell that, a couple years have gone by. And then the third movie, it's like, oh man, these kids they're not kids anymore. Why are they in high school?
Oh yeah, it is a prep school. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How about that? But yeah, so we watched that one, and that was good fun. My son opted out after about 10 minutes. He's like, "No, this is boring. I'm gonna go play Mario."
I just
but
hope
my daughter sat and watched it.
Yeah, I hope your daughter like asks you. The third movie pops up and she's like, "Dad, why are all these kids like super old?" Like it'd be like if they made like a Mighty Ducks 4 now, and all of the people that are still around, in their 40s and 30s are like
the freshmen in college.
Yeah. They're like, "We're gonna get it," especially since Goldberg like looking real rough now.
Looking super rough.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Other
than that, we started watching Star Trek Lower Decks on CBS All Access.
That's the
really
cartoon
good.
one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. I've enjoyed every episode so far. Like the cold open to the first episode is one of the funniest things I've seen in recent memory, and I just watched an American Pickle.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. Just taking a dig at the movie that we're about to review.
You damn straight.
All at the beginning.
So if you have CBS All Access, I would definitely recommend checking out Lower Decks. It's pretty good. And then other than that, I've watched the first episode of Lovecraft Country and need to watch the second one.
That show so far. I don't want to spoil it for anyone because it's a brand new show that just came out last week.
Right.
But man, is it a good show?
It really is. I mean, I suppose without being spoilery, it really does tackle the state of racism in the 60s,
50s. Yeah, it's
in the 50s. Like the premise of the show, or at least sort of the main why they go from one place to another, is they are taking trips from Chicago out east to find places that are safe for Black people to stop at when they are traveling across the country, and so they're building a guide.
I mean, that's like Sea Story, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's Sea Story, but it's the reason anybody's going anywhere.
Right. I mean, there's an A story that's taking them out there, and then they're using the Sea Story to travel that way. Basically.
Right.
I will say, like, just 2 episodes in, and I can already tell a common theme of, like, which is a problem that I had with The Walking Dead, which was it's like 40 minutes of exposition, and then a bunch of crazy shit happens in the last 10 minutes of the show.
Oh, really?
So that's what...
I mean, that happened in the first episode.
Same, it happens in the second episode, too. Like, bunch of exposition, crazy shit happens. So like,
dude, I was kind of worried because like at the very beginning of the first episode, like the cold open of it is really CGI heavy,
right?
And it doesn't look amazing. Like it doesn't look bad, but it's more.
I mean, I felt like the beginning, the opening sequence CGI for the show, I felt was purposely kind of pulp comic-y on purpose for the time period, because it's a dream. Like, sorry to ruin the first 5 minutes of the show where the guy's having a dream,
right?
But yeah, like it's stylized because of the time period and because they kind of want it to be somewhat cartoony. I mean, it still looks like there's, I don't know, like some of it looks real, some of it looks cartoony. But definitely, like, the CGI that's in the show after that is more realistic and less cartoony.
Yeah. I was really pleased to see that towards the end of the episode. Dude, the end of that first episode was fantastic. Like, it started one way and started going down one direction of, suspenseful, etc., and then just completely took a left turn.
Yep.
It was fantastic.
I'm probably going to rewatch the second episode just because I was like making dinner during it, and like we had to take a couple breaks for like the dogs and stuff. So I may rewatch it again unbroken because I think that ruined some stuff.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, for me,
What else?
this week, I Lovecraft Country, just like you said, and then I've been watching The Last Dance, which is the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls documentary that's on Netflix right now.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things about it. Oh, well, I guess I'll say I heard that people were really hungry for sports things, and it made people feel normal watching it when it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge sports guy,
Mm-hmm.
but I also it's a really good documentary and it's a really good show. I mean, I was a child in the 90s that was trying to figure out what I liked and also liked sports at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course I liked Michael Jordan and Joe Montana and Barry Bonds and all that. So like anything that's kind of related to that, I'm interested in watching.
Oh yeah, when you were a child in the 90s, you were out in California, right?
Right. Yeah.
I was like, what? Barry Bonds, Joe Montana. Who are you? you mean Troy Aikman and Michael Young?
Nope.
Hello.
Nope. It was all Oakland Athletics and the San Francisco Giants and
Blah.
the 49ers. I mean, that's where I grew up. I still the favorite football team is Green Bay Packers, and favorite baseball team is still Giants.
That's cool, man.
Basketball, I've never really cared too much about. I just got I think I got like a mild Michael Jordan fever from all of my friends that were into basketball that liked it, but otherwise I didn't really care.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, when Michael Jordan was playing basketball, it's hard not to be a Michael Jordan / Bulls fan, right?
Right. Because he was just, as the documentary puts out, he was just literally the best that has existed, probably still.
Yeah.
Single player. Anyway, that's not what the show's about this week. But why don't you tell me a little bit about some of these news? These news you did.
Oh man, we have so much news. I say we have so much news, but whatever. So last time we talked about the fact that Disney was limiting some of their physical releases, or they didn't have plans for physical releases for 4K discs going forward, and things like that.
Yeah.
But they came out and they formally denied those reports. They said in a statement, there are no plans to discontinue releases in any particular format. We evaluate each release on a case-by-case basis and pursue the best strategy to bring our content into consumer homes across platforms that meet a variety of demands. We'll see how that goes. I don't particularly trust Disney to be very forthcoming with their plans per se.
Right, and I don't either.
Yeah, they did get like a little bit of backlash for not having plans for 4K releases, and that's probably more where that statement came from more than anything else. And
I'm assuming if they get enough backlash, then they're gonna turn around and be like, well, I guess we'll go ahead and we have enough people that say that they'll purchase it.
Right.
I think
Disney is going to bow down to the almighty dollar, and if they think they can make a bunch of money, then they'll do it.
Right. But I think they're trying. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to like dip their toe into just doing all digital releases, so that way they're like, yeah, we don't have to spend money on any sort of production, even though it costs like probably 10 cents to make it or whatever.
Yeah.
That's 10 cents.
It kind of sucks that this is where we're at with Disney. I mean, even I guess like 5-6 years ago, when they bought Star Wars, when they started in on the process of buying Marvel, we all kind of knew this is where it was going to end up. Right? They were going to be so huge. But at the time, a few years ago, it was really exciting because Disney was taking care of these properties that had been neglected.
Right.
But now that they're cornering markets, they're starting to do the bully thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've kind of been doing that for a while, but they're just trying to do it better now. And by better, I mean like be a better bully or whatever. I've got two news that I snuck in here. The Boys season 2 is coming to Amazon Prime next month.
I still need to watch season 1.
Very excited for that. Season 1 was great. And then
it's the one with like the asshole superheroes, right?
So it's like, yeah. So it's Carl Urban, right?
Bones?
Yeah, Bones.
Yeah, yeah.
I always like every time I want to say Carl Urban, I accidentally say Keith Urban. My wife's always like, no. So like, yeah. So Carl Urban, Bones, Dread.
Aren't they both Australian?
I do not know enough about Keith Urban to talk about him in any.
The only thing I know about Keith Urban is that he was married to Tom Cruise's ex-wife. What's her name? Nicole Kidman.
Which one?
I'm sorry to relate her to
which ex-wife?
To men specifically, but he's married to Nicole Kidman. I, for whatever reason, was thinking that they were both Australian.
I know she is. I don't know about him. Anyway, that comes out.
New Zealand. He's from New Zealand.
Carl Urban's from New Zealand, not Australia, right?
No, Keith Urban is from New Zealand.
Oh. Carl Urban is from New Zealand.
Oh, maybe they both are. Hold on.
I know that Carl Urban is from New Zealand.
Yeah, Keith Urban is a New Zealand-born Australian singer.
Oh my God! So they're both from New Zealand. That's weird. All right.
No wonder you get them confused. You didn't even know.
I didn't even know. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, Boys season 2. Very excited for that. Yeah, it's Carl Urban and a bunch of other guys that are just regular people, trying to, as they put it, spank the superheroes to try to keep them in line because they're all just egomaniac assholes. Probably what would happen in real life if we had superheroes. They're just out for money and fame and they don't care about normal people. And then Raised by Wolves, the Ridley Scott show movie. They haven't really told us if it's a show or a movie. It's coming to HBO Max as an exclusive next month as well. I think September 3rd. So,
what's it about? Is there a synopsis?
They finally released, I think like 3 days ago, they released a second trailer. And from what it looks like, it's 2 androids that were sent to Earth that were able to basically like impregnate themselves with human babies. That way they could birth the human babies. Were sent to a different planet from Earth to raise these children as atheists because religion destroyed Earth. And then these religious zealots leave Earth to go to that planet to try to get the human babies back because they're human and they don't deserve to be with androids. And then the androids start fighting back or whatever.
That sounds complicated and neat.
Yep. I mean, that's what I got from the trailer. So,
other than that, the rest of our news is all DC based. This weekend was DC Fandom, which is their sort of DC convention, I suppose. It's all online. This is the first year they're doing it. I think originally they had planned to do like an in-person sort of thing, but then COVID, so they had a bunch of online panels and stuff. I tuned into a little bit of like the Flash stuff because I don't know if you've listened to the show before,
you hate
but
Flash.
I'm kind of into the fucking
you hate him.
DC shows. Yeah, I hate the Flash.
He's
the worst superhero.
The worst. He's always like, "Look at me, I gotta go fast."
Yeah. Ooh, what do you do? Run fast, fucking idiot.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of it. I just caught the DC games coming out, the trailers for those, and then I caught the major movies that were shown. But go ahead.
Yeah, I had the DC games in the news, but I took those out because we're not a game show, and I figured
we can still say how cool they look.
Yeah, I mean the Arkham Knights. I didn't watch the trailer. I've just seen the screenshot of like
Gotham
the 4 suits.
Knights, okay.
Oh yeah, Gotham Knights. Excuse me. That looked pretty. The idea of a game with Nightwing, Robin, Batman, or Batwoman, and Batgirl without Batman at all seems kind of cool.
Well, it's Nightwing, Robin, Red Hood, and Batgirl.
Oh, is it Red Hood?
Yeah. But it looks really cool and has drop in and out co-op. It looks like online co-op, so you just drop in and out of your friends' games and do stuff.
Maybe we could do that on a Wednesday. Just convince everybody to get it.
I don't know if you can play 4-player. I think they just said co-op, and the trailer they had only had 2 people playing. So I think we'll have to wait for more details when it comes out in a year, and if we all have the same console.
Oh, okay. And the other one was what? I know it was Suicide Squad, which is in the Arkham universe, right? It's a Rocksteady game.
Made by Rocksteady. They didn't confirm if it was in the Arkham universe.
Oh, I had written that in the notes at one point that they confirmed that it was in the Arkham universe.
Did they? Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't. I honestly didn't look into it. I just saw the trailer and I was like, that looks cool. Hopefully they get their sexual allegation stuff worked out so I can feel less bad about playing their game.
Hey, speaking of sexual allegations, let's talk about the Flash movie.
Oh, okay.
No, we'll get to that in a sec. But I suppose the bigger news is that the DC Universe stuff, if you're paying for DC Universe, please stop. Because all of their shows and stuff are going to migrate over to HBO Max in the very near future.
Yeah.
We kind of thought that was going to happen. Last show we talked about it a little bit with all the layoffs that were happening.
Well, also all the shows that migrated over already.
So, and DC Universe is likely to be shut down soon because of all the massive layoffs that they had about a week ago, I guess it was.
And because it was a terrible service.
Yeah. You know what? I in March paid for a year of it because it was cheap just to do a year, and now I'm like, well, damn it.
Justin accidentally paid for a year, which I think ends like this month or next month. And he was like, "Hey, do you want to like just have the login so you can read comics and stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "They don't have all the comics for some reason, even though they own all the rights to their own fucking comics. I don't know why they don't have all of their comics on their service, but whatever."
Dumb.
Yeah.
In DC, do something better.
Get your stuff together.
But anyway, at Fandom, they confirmed both Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are going to be in the Flash movie as Bruce Wayne / Batman. The concept art for the new Flash suit was released, and apparently this Flash suit is designed by Batfleck, I believe, in the movie. And the concept art also showed Keaton's Batman in the background, which was kind of neat.
I was really hoping it was designed by Ben Affleck, but he doesn't know how to design costumes, so it's just really like crudely drawn, like stick figure with red marker.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the original Flash suit that Barry designed or whatever it looks like it's patched together with some like wires and shit, right?
Well, right, yeah. I'm just saying, it'd be funny to see his terrible stick figure drawing.
We got our first look of The Rock as Black Adam. That was kind of neat.
Nice.
And
I think
then,
I saw a picture. Was there an actual video or was it just a picture?
It was just a picture.
The concept.
Yeah. And then they released several trailers, and I haven't watched any of them. I don't know. I stopped watching trailers probably about a decade ago.
Why?
Because I don't know, man.
That's a weird thing to not watch for a movie podcast that you do.
I guess. I don't. I would rather not know something than watch a trailer that is overly spoilery, I guess.
You just don't want any hype whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't want to get myself excited about a movie and then be disappointed. I really enjoy going into stuff blind.
I've been crushed before. I can't do it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible.
I didn't see the Zack Snyder Justice League trailer. I've seen the other ones. The Batman looks really, really good, and I've not been this excited for a Batman movie from a trailer since probably Batman Begins.
All right.
Or since, I would say since Batman Begins. So this is a very exciting, looks really good, sounds good.
I didn't put this in the notes, but they did confirm that the Batman takes place during year 2, and the Gotham GCPD show or whatever it's called takes place in year 1. And it is being told from the perspective of a corrupt officer in the GCPD.
Is that coming to HBO Max?
Yes.
Or is that on
HBO Max, and it is being written and directed. I don't know about directed by because it's a series, but definitely being developed and written by the dude who's doing the Batman movie.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard that he was doing a show. Anyway, I have no reservations about Robert Pattinson as Batman. He looks like he's going to be great.
Awesome. Yeah, I we talked about it before, but I like Robert Pattinson. I think he's pretty great in everything he's in.
Yep. Wonder Woman 1984 looks good.
Looks like a Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was a weird having Kristen Wiig as Cheetah is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
a weird casting choice. But otherwise, it looks like it's going to be a fun movie, and they may have DC'd the ending again because they showed like part of, I assume, the last fight at the end.
See?
They're not ruining anything. Suicide Roll Call was weird just because of how many actual members of the Suicide Squad are in that movie.
Yeah.
There's like 15 or whatever, or 12 or something like that.
Goodness.
So if anybody can pull it off, I have faith in James Gunn to do that.
Yeah, James Gunn's pretty good at ensemble superheroes, I guess.
Yeah.
And that does it for news. So,
well, cool.
What
Let's
now?
go. We'll get right into it. We are talking this month or this week, this bye-week, about American Pickle, the Seth Rogen HBO Max movie that just came out very, very recently. So it released August 6th, 2020 on HBO Max. It's directed by Brandon Trost, screenplay by Simon Rich, and the leads are Seth Rogen, basically just kind of by himself making this movie. Critical response, you got Rotten Tomatoes is 74% and Metacritic at 58%. For a synopsis of the film, if you haven't really seen anything about it or any trailers or watched anything on HBO Max, you've got Seth Rogen playing Herschel, who is a Orthodox Jewish factory worker who is preserved in pickle brine for 100 years, wakes up in New York City now, and tracks down his great-grandson, Ben Greenbaum, also played by Seth Rogen. And kind of like hilarity family stuff ensues, and they kind of start, getting not to get too into the movie, but they kind of start fighting each other a little bit, and hilarity ensues. But yeah, Guy, what did you think of the movie? Spoiler-free version of it, of course.
I would say overall it was okay. It's not the funniest movie I've ever seen. It's no Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. Is that the bar? Tropic Thunder is the funniest movie.
Tropic Thunder is my bar because I don't know. I just lost my shit when that dude exploded at the beginning. The movie hasn't aged particularly well, the Tropic Thunder, but at the same time, it was really funny when it came out. But I'd say it was okay. There were some hilarious bits and parts where it was genuinely laugh out loud funny. But for the most part, it was just kind of, I guess. Neither of the characters were particularly likable, but Seth Rogen was amazing. He was they were two very distinct characters, and so I think he gets a lot of credit for that.
I would say I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. There wasn't really too many moments. I think there's maybe like one or two moments where I was actually kind of bored. Otherwise I thought it was a pretty like funny, heartfelt story. Seth Rogen really was surprised because he's not really known to be a good actor. Like, he's kind of known to be Seth Rogen, and that's basically what he does.
Right.
And so I thought he did a really good job of playing two different characters and not playing Seth Rogen specifically. So there's no like, haha, weed smoking, laughs a lot, like Seth Rogen that we're used to.
Right. I mean, even his modern day character was still pretty normal, I guess.
Right, I would say it's his modern day character was very not Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
So he was still acting differently. But yeah, I would say if you have HBO or HBO Max or have access to the movie, watch it. Otherwise, I wouldn't say that getting the subscription specifically for this movie is a good idea. But if you already have it, it's worth the hour and a half. It's not a very long movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. We'll get into the spoiler zone. We need to come up with like a woo, which we always talked about and then never did.
I'll see what I can find.
I think Pablo got too overwhelmed to... Oh, he did it once, right? Like the first episode he did it, and then it was...
Oh, yeah, it was the entire episode.
He didn't cut it off, so it was just like air horns for the rest of the like 40 minutes of the show. Yeah, we're not going to do that. That was very irritating.
Forgot about that.
But Guy, why don't you take us away on the spoiler section?
Okay. Well, I mean, the movie starts out in whatever country they're in. I forget.
Man.
But
I don't think it's a real country.
Yeah, it may not be a real country. But it's basically an Eastern European country that was being
attacked by the Cossacks.
Back in the, I suppose it was 19 teens, when the Cossacks were taking over Imperial Russia and really just, going to town on the Jewish population. That is what they were facing. That's what he was facing in the beginning of the movie. And it kind of starts out where he's a ditch digger. And he sees this girl that he fancies, I guess is the right word here, and decides that he's going to dig ditches twice as long, twice as far, twice as hard, to earn enough money to buy a fish that she wanted to buy at the market. That's how he's going to introduce himself to her. And that was the very first part that I couldn't stop laughing, because he buys this fish and he's like, "Here, you want fish?" And he hands it to her and she looks at it for like just a second and then just takes a giant fucking bite out of the head of the fish. and then Seth Rogen's character, Herschel, is looking at her like, okay. And the fish guy's looking at her like, okay.
It's Schlepsk is the old country that they're from.
There you go, Schlepsk. Definitely not a real country.
Yeah.
And then they basically they fall in love. They get married, and on their wedding day, the Cossacks come to their town and just demolish their entire village, and so they go to New York to live the American dream.
There is a town in Poland named Slupsk.
Oh.
So it might be loosely based on that.
Maybe.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. So they get to America, and before they go to America, they're talking about their dreams, right? And what they want to accomplish. Yeah. And Sarah's idea of being the girl that he's into, her idea of being rich is to be able to afford her own gravestone. And his idea of being rich was being able to afford seltzer water.
Yeah, it was their dreams. Like, what's your if you had any amount of money, what was your dream?
Right. Yeah. What is like your bucket list wealth, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I just want to feel the bubbles on my tongue.
Yep.
So good. And then they get to New York and they're like scrimping and saving or whatever, and they're walking by a dude with like a seltzer water bottle, and there's a lady, like fancily dressed, like just sipping the seltzer water.
And she has to like pull him away because he's all sad.
It's so good. But he gets a job at a pickle factory, and gets hired as a rat smasher.
Yeah. He can't help with the pickles at all, but he can smash what was it, 10 cents for, or no, 1 nickel for every 10 rats?
Yeah, there's a nickel for every 10 rats.
Yep.
But yeah, so, and during, and building their life, and again, I went into this movie completely blind, had no idea what it was about, other than Seth Rogen was in it. And so I thought they were setting it up for some, he was.
You had no idea.
Yeah, no, I thought it was going to be a story about Herschel.
You don't watch trailers,
right? So I was thinking, this is going to be a story about an immigrant story to America or whatever for a minute. And so I was like really into it, and they've got these dreams of, he's this sweet moment where they find out that she's pregnant, and he's promising her that in 100 years our ancestors will be, strong, the strongest, Jewish people in New York City or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the promise that he made to Sarah. And then he goes to work the next day and falls in the pickle brine.
He doesn't just fall in. He's trying to smash some rats, and the rats revolt and surround him and basically push him into the pickle brine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they immediately cover it up and condemn the building. I have a question. So sure. I'm going to get this opinion from you from every movie.
Okay.
Is every movie, is there an M. Night Shyamalan twist that you're not aware of because you haven't watched the trailer that is just like awestruck when it happens?
I mean, a lot of movies, yeah.
Like you went into this and you're like, oh, it's just a movie about Herschel's life, and then all of a sudden he's like in the future because he got pickled.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh man, nice. He is dead. He was dead the whole time.
Yeah, that's it. He was dead the whole time.
Sixth Sense style.
I was thinking more like The Village, but okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's part of the fun of not watching trailers. People say, hey, you should watch this movie. It's good. I'm like, okay. No idea what to expect.
Yeah. I guess I like getting hyped for it.
But there's, but once he gets awoken, I did enjoy. So here's the thing that bothered me about the movie, and why I see it's kind of meh is that it was really unrealistic, and I know that's dumb to say in a movie about a dude who gets pickle brined, but
right.
The way that they handled the pickle brine thing was they were like, they had that scene where the scientist was like, oh no, it's totally possible. And they're like, explain it to me. And then they just cut to Herschel like with a voiceover.
Yeah. So there's, for anyone that hasn't watched, or I guess people probably have watched, hopefully if they're listening to this or you don't care, but just, the part where he's like, well, how does that make sense? Well, let me explain it. The scientist gave a good explanation. Everyone was satisfied.
His logic was sound. Everyone was satisfied. Yeah.
Oh, and then everybody in the crowd's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And that I didn't have a problem with. That was clearly glossing over the science for the sake of the movie in a funny way. It's kind of a takedown of, the sort of explanations that they have in.
Well, they entered a wormhole at the G79 and they came out on the other side of the wormhole at 4972.
Right.
And then they got in the future. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Right. And so it's a clever takedown on that where they just explicitly didn't explain it. And it was fine. Right. But then later you had just some dumb stuff that makes zero sense that that not only did they not, they didn't acknowledge it in that same way. They just didn't talk about it at all. And so.
Like what?
Like in the courtroom. When he's getting railroaded into being deported, he's talking with an American accent. You could do a DNA test. You could do a saliva test. There are so many ways you could prove that he is not Herschel.
But that's the same, like, the fact that their whole case was like, look, I've got a beard on, and now I'm a different person too, huh? Like, I feel like it's the same level of comedy excuse away for the sake of the story as the science bit.
Yeah, but the science bit was like explicitly, no, we're not going to explain this to you. It's just go with it. Where this was, oh, here's our logical reasoning. And it's just like nobody in their fucking right mind would take that as a real argument.
Oh, so because they had a dumb argument instead of no argument, that's what was upsetting. Okay.
Yeah, like if they didn't have the court scene, they were just like, arrested and deported him.
I got deported. Like,
yeah, that would be fine. But they tried to insert an explanation for that, and it didn't work for me.
I can see that. I didn't have a problem. I mean, my wife was like DNA test right next to me, and I was like, I don't care. Like, this movie's a dumb movie anyway. Like, there's no reason to bring logic into it.
Or like the people who discovered Herschel when he's selling pickles. All right.
Right.
I guess let's get into that a little bit, or explain it a little bit. Excuse me, where the Herschel at some point goes off to make his own start his own pickle business over. He clearly doesn't have any money. He's from the early 1900s, so he dumpster dives for pickles, collects rainwater, and then like also gets like dumpster dives for salt. And makes this like thriving street pickle business out of it, which is okay, whatever. But then he gets the health inspector called on him, and then people are like, "Oh, these are trash pickles," even though he told them earlier that they were trash pickles.
Right, but now they've got the health inspector on them too. So like clarifying that they are trash, because they were just like, what does he know?
Well, I mean, but even the people that found him on the street or whatever were like, oh, they're repurposed.
I don't know. I think the only part that I excuse me.
Oh no.
The only part that I had a problem with was whenever he goes to the investor and the investor's like, "Sorry, man, can't spin this," which I was pretty excited to see Yorma in that movie. That was fun.
Yeah, that was cool.
But like him going like, "Yeah, we can't fix this. You beat up a guy, so now we're not going to take your product or whatever," which didn't make any sense. There's an easy way to spin that to not a negative thing. And then later on, when they like back Herschel and they're like, "Sorry, man, out of money," I'm like, that's not how investment companies work. They don't just have like one chunk of cash that they're like, "Yeah, we just completely invested all of our money into this one thing. Hope it works." Like,
yeah, and and his whole like life as an app designer or whatever, also didn't really work super well for me. And I think some of that comes from, honestly, cutting together, these podcasts and the YouTube channel and stuff, where, it's a thing that like I'm building a very teeny tiny business that's, for all intents and purposes loses money, but whatever, it's fun, right?
Right.
But even what I am able to contribute to that financially is, like advertising for the YouTube channel and stuff. That's how I get the word out there to launch the videos. And the fact that, his character, Ben, hasn't launched his app because somehow he needs the investor money to make it worthwhile at all. He's like living off of his parents' money. So I don't understand how he can't just register the app on the App Store and then go through a different financing route, and slowly build his business or whatever. He's trying to do it all in one shot. And it's like the writers of the movie just assume that there is only one way to launch an app, which is to get investors into it.
Well, my experience with launching apps, which is zero in watching Silicon Valley, is that you take it to investors and you gotta get that going on. I don't know, man. I can't really. There's probably multiple ways to do it, and they just chose that way. Maybe he just chose that way as a character. But...
Well, right, but then he gets rejected, and his immediate response is, "Well, that app's fucking dead."
Yep.
And he puts a bunch of work into like reworking it and stuff to give it a new image and blah blah blah. But he puts absolutely no work into an alternative plan for launching it.
Right. It's like he goes to the one VC and they reject him, and he's like, I guess they're the only VC in New York, so no more people to invest in me.
And he's potentially launching a nation or international app. So why does it even have to be a VC in New York? Like the underpinnings of the movie really, really killed it for me, I guess.
That was the only thing that I had to hang up on, and I just let it go because it's a dumb movie about a guy that gets pickled for 100 years. So there's obviously literally no science or based in any sort of logic whatsoever. So I just let everything go and just enjoyed the movie because I think it's just like if I'm watching a movie and they're like if I'm watching a movie that's trying to tell me like sciencey things, like you're watching like a disaster movie. What was that really crappy? What was Geostorm that came out like a couple years ago?
That's one that's so crappy I've never heard of it.
I mean, it was not a like B tier movie. Like it was an A tier movie. It had Gerard Butler in it and a couple other people. And it's just like about a space laser that controls the weather, and then somebody gets a hold of it and starts like killing everyone on the planet or whatever. But like
you do.
It's like where they're like trying to ground it in science, but nothing makes sense. So you're like, well, this sucks. Like,
oh, you mean like The Core?
Hey, man. All right, leave The Core alone.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you had a soft spot for The Core.
No, I don't care. But yeah, like whenever a movie's like trying to be ultra sciencey, but then the science just doesn't like doesn't make sense at all. Like, that's when I'm like, all right, well, hold on, we're gonna have to talk about this whole thing. But when a movie's like, yes, I live in cave for 1,000 years, and then I come out and I'm in the future, like, it's like, and I lived off of rat droppings and it survived me. Like, when there's no
we were talking about that the other day, and I had no idea what you're talking about then.
Oh, I just made that up.
I thought there was a movie where. Oh well, never mind.
Justin was probably talking to you about Encino Man, which is Brendan Fraser is a caveman that gets frozen, and some people find him in the ice and bring him out, and that it just melts and he's fine and like starts living in the future or whatever.
Yeah, no, I remember Encino Man. I thought that. Oh well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
No, don't know what.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I talked about it a little bit earlier. Neither of the characters is particularly likable. They both have some very serious personal flaws that make their character. Like, I wanted to root for Ben a lot, and then he would do some just seriously awful shit.
I mean, Ben was just being like a huge vindictive asshole the entire movie, and I liked Herschel because he was a guy from 100 years ago, so like to an extent you could be like, well, that's the things you're saying are terrible, but you literally just woke up from a barrel of pickles from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So like, I don't expect you to not be like semi-racist and like not like Christians or whatever. Like, that's not something that I expect from your character.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, maybe it's the optimist in me or whatever. I feel like the movie, if it was, real people, quote unquote, the movie wouldn't have happened because,
because he would have died in the pickle brine.
Well, yeah, that too. But, but like Ben, when Herschel says some off shit, instead of just being like, okay, he'd be like, you can't say this because this, right? Like, he would be like a teacher or a liaison to the future or whatever.
Well, depending on who he is.
Right. Hopefully. And then,
because there's people in the world that Herschel would say something and they'd be like, right on, man.
Right. And again, his whole problem with, I blew my one chance with the one VC that I know or whatever.
Can't let that go.
Which led to his whole, I'm going to kick you out. And then, the whole pickle business. Whereas if they had just started the pickle business together from the first place, no fucking movie.
So, I mean, we cut out a piece. They went to the grave sites. That way Herschel could go see the family grave plot that he had purchased for his wife. And there was just a crappy billboard above it that a bunch of guys put up a billboard of Russian vodka. And Herschel's like, the Cossacks are back. They're trying to take our land and kill us again. And so he like beat the crap out of the guys that were putting up the billboard. And that's what started all the trouble and started Ben not liking him.
Right.
So the things I liked about it, I'm going to kind of go through that real quick. I liked that he did act like a dude from 100 years ago in the sense that, like, he was amazed. Like, he did get his seltzer water immediately once he went to Ben's apartment. He made him a soda stream.
Dude, that scene made me want to get a soda stream.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was there for. And that wasn't even a soda stream. That was, like, the other brand. Like, there's two different brands. That was the fancier brand of soda stream. But I really like the scene where he's like, how many pairs of socks do you have? He's like, I don't know. I've got like 20 pairs of socks. 20 pairs. Oh, yes. Oh. How many shoes? I don't know, like 6 pairs of shoes. 6 pairs of shoes. Like just so like how great the fact that he would just say, I'm going to do terrible violence to you.
Mm-hmm. I did enjoy the part where he tried to fight the cab for half a second.
Where he's like puts up his dukes.
Yeah.
What did he say? The interview bit where he's like, if you believe in Jesus, you're a stupid idiot.
Oh. Yeah. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial here when I say
let me tell you a saying from old time, which this is in the trailer if you saw it, one of my favorite jokes is in the trailer, but and he's like, well, this hasn't aged well. He's like, if a man says he punches you and he doesn't, he secretly has polio arm. I don't know. I feel like it's like heartwarming in the sense that Ben like redeems himself towards the end. Both of them kind of redeem themselves towards the end and grow to be together. Yeah. I kind of wish there was some like weird, dumb, stupid science thing that put him back in time. I don't know how that would work, but like,
yeah. At the end of the movie, I felt myself wanting to see more movie because I wanted to see, how their relationship flourished or changed or whatever when they went into business together. Like that seemed like that would be an interesting part of the movie. So I think there was material there for more potentially, but I don't particularly have any arguments with where they cut it off either.
Yeah, I feel like if they stretched it out too long, it would just be that. It would just be kind of too long, too much information.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, cool. Where to see it? HBO Max or HBO? I don't know if it's on just like the cable network. I doubt it. I think it's
like
just
HBO on demand or whatever.
I think it's made HBO Max exclusive. So if you have it, watch it. If you don't, you make a decision on if you want to purchase HBO Max.
Yeah, like we said earlier, I don't think it's worth signing up for HBO Max specifically for it. I personally wouldn't even use like my free trial on it. I think we had talked about a movie a couple episodes ago where it's like, you know what? If you got your free trial, use it on this.
I would say it's I am glad I have it because of Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen was really good. They're making some good stuff.
Yeah, I personally feel like HBO Max is worth it. I get enough value out of it, but I wouldn't go signing up for it just to watch this movie.
Agreed. Well, next time we are going to tentatively say we're going to be doing Bill and Ted 3 Face the Music, right? Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Yeah. As long as it's not over $25, I believe was your threshold.
That is my cutoff point. If it's over $25, then I will not do it. But I think I'll bite the bullet, and I can also go watch it for free today and tomorrow at Alamo Drafthouse if I signed up and wanted to go to a theater, but I don't. So
yeah, neither of those things sound appealing to me.
Because I'm pretty sure Alamo Drafthouse would be like, it's a free movie, but you have to buy $30 in food and drink, and I'm like, I don't want to eat here.
I saw earlier somewhere. I forget if it was Regal Cinema or AMC was doing like 10-cent movie tickets for a minute to reopen this month or this coming month.
I think they're just trying to get people back into the theaters and get them back used to watching movies again. We'll see how that works, and we'll keep you up to date. I think this month and next month is when theaters are reopening again, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll have some more news about that. We're going to keep an eye on the situation. I mean, clearly it's important to us and what we're doing here, but I don't think either of us really feels like going to a theater right now. Yeah. But we want to kind of keep you guys up to date with what we're seeing in the industry and stuff. So tune in for that too.
We will have non-breaking news about that whenever the next episode is. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. And Guy, do you have anything else to say about An American Pickle?
No, I think I said what I needed to say.
Good. I thought you were about to make a pickle pun, and I was going to be very upset.
I'm Pickle Rick.
All right. Well, that's not a pun, so that works. That's fine.
Yay.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next time with some Bill and Ted Face the Music, hopefully.
Excellent.
Be excellent to each other. All right. Bye.
Bye.